Welcome to episode 1 of Tusk Tradition. My name is Sterling Scott. I'm going to be the host of this. I'm an Alabama alumni, a graduate in 2024. Grew up an Alabama fan. Kind of weird, this is episode 1, almost in the middle of the season, but just when I decided to start this. So today on the agenda, we'll talk about a little bit of a Vandy recap, my thoughts about it, what went right, what went wrong, and then look forward to this weekend with Missouri. And real quick, with this podcast show, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be unfiltered, not with like the words I use, but just I'm not going to edit this. This is going to be a one continuous take. So could be some blunders, could be some stuttering, but that's just going to be one take going through it. Getting right into it. Vandy recap. I want to go back, though, a week before the Vandy game. We'll start at Georgia. Right after that game, in the locker room, I wasn't there. Reports of people that were there, more important than me, that the focus had already shifted to Vanderbilt. Now, I don't know about last year at Kalen DeBoer. I don't see that happening. So there's something going on where it's a positive effect. But from the reports inside the locker room, right after the game, we were already discussing Vanderbilt, talking about next week. Moral of the story, Vanderbilt wasn't going to get looked over again in terms of Alabama's focus. Usually after a big win, you hear people say, the 24-hour rule. We're going to enjoy this for 24 hours, then we'll get into next week. Seems like they were already going into looking at the Vanderbilt game. Okay, so let's get back to the Vanderbilt game on that Saturday. Let's get into it. The game started maybe the worst it could have for Alabama. Nice drive going. Get our first interception of the year for Ty. Glad it happened, but glad it got out of the system. Because the longer you don't have something, the more it might start to weigh on someone's conscience. The more they start thinking about it, some different throws. Glad let's just get that out of here. Your first one, good and gone. Whatever. Turn the ball over. They go down. They score on a big time run. We'll get into that run in a second, and then we get the ball back and then go miss field goal. So. Just that is a horrible start that I think last year we would have had that start. It just would have doomed the whole game. I was texting my buddy who was at the game, and I was like, I don't know if it gets worse than this. And hindsight, after the game, I went back and looked at all this stats and good stuff, and that just shows something that would have crushed us last year. There would have been almost no going back from that, and in return, I'm thinking, here we go again with this. We're going to lose Vanderbilt 2 years in a row. Obviously, being a big-time fan, you think the worst. So I'm thinking, here we go again with this Vanderbilt team. They have our number. Can't beat them. All right, going back to that long TD run. So on TV, when I was watching it, they kept calling out the secondary and the safety on the run fits. I went back and watched, our DC, Kane Womack's press conference earlier this week, and he was telling us that it was D-line not shifting the right way, not angling the right way. That was the hiccup on that run play. So, on CBS, whatever it was, they were casting stones in the wrong direction. It ended up being our D-line on that. Okay, before this game, I had some keys to the game that I thought to myself, told my buddies. So the first one was win the time of possession. Last year they owned us time of possession. It was something like 42 minutes to 18 minutes, something like that. It was something crazy. So I wanted to win that this year. Didn't want to lose the turnover battle. That was key number 2. Key number 3 was no really big plays. So I wasn't thinking run plays or anything without straight up with the running back. But I was thinking more of like that shuffle play that worked a lot, which we saw in this game too. But I was more of thinking about something like that. We can't give that up. So right out of the gate, early on, we have already failed at 2 of my 3 keys in my brain. So I'm just all this goes to Vanderbilt has our number. So after the missed kick. Vanderbilt gets the ball back, and they go on this long drive, 14-play drive. They're about to score again, and I'm really starting to get nervous, just because the tone of this game is not going where I want it. Huge play by Justin Jefferson. Huge play. Getting that ball out, us jumping on it, huge play. That was the first time in the game I felt like the momentum shifted back to Alabama. That was there was momentum on the sideline. We're starting to celebrate a little bit. It's first, big play that went our way. Great play, textbook, how they teach it. That was great. Everyone getting hats to the ball, to be able to jump on it right when the ball came out. So we get the ball back, and we go down and score, 12-play drive right after that forced fumble. And I think that 12-play drive was just a response of the energy from the fumble and the big play. It's just an emotional turn of the game. So early on, another big positive before that score. Let's say when Vanderbilt was driving. Let's talk about right there in that moment before the fumble forced by Jefferson. I didn't see any panic. That was a really big bonus for me. I think we were still trying to fight. Everything was working. It just wasn't going our way. But there wasn't any early panic. Just going back to last year, I know I keep talking about it, but it just seems that there was panic a lot last year when moments and things didn't go our way. So, Vandy goes on, and they scored another touchdown before half. It was late. I want to say it was like under 2 minutes they scored. And so I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be down 14-7 at halftime. Could be worse, could be better. See what the second half has. Huge answer by Ty in the offense to go down there and score. Nice pitch and catch right there to Bernard, the old equalizer at 14. And then funny enough, Pavia before the game was doing a whole bunch of stuff. But what he was doing was practicing victory formation, which is taking a knee. And, he practiced play. He got to run because they got to run it here. They need the ball to end the second half. So good on him, getting the reps in. Practice like you play is what they say. All right, let's get to the second half. Anytime in the second half you pitch a shutout, you want to give huge props to, people like to say halftime adjustments. I'm going to call it a halftime refocus. Because if you look at the scheme and look at the play calling, nothing changed. It wasn't like this huge overarching, all right, we're going to throw the entire game plan out. We're going to switch it up. It wasn't anything like that. So just a good job at halftime of refocusing. Always reminders and pointers you get coached up on. So I just hats off to the defense there for turning it around the second half. They get the ball first. We get a stop. Our first possession, we get 3. And then we get another stop, get the ball back. And this was pretty big. Bama pretty much held the ball for half of the third quarter with the next drive, ending with another 3. So at this point, it's 20-14. Would love 6 in these situations, but points are points, especially with kind of how shaky the field goal operation's been this year. I'll take points. So Vandy gets the ball back. It's 20-14. We're going into the fourth quarter. Vandy has the ball. It didn't feel like it, that it was 20-14. Vandy has the ball down 1 score. But that's what it was. So they're driving, and they're driving deep in our red zone. And that was kind of the first time I thought, okay, it's a 6-point ball game, and they're driving, and they're pretty deep in our territory. I'm thinking they're going to score here, and we're going to have to respond. And that's what I was thinking. So, another big play by the defense deep in the end zone to get that pick. Diego Pavia throws another one, gives it the ball deep in there. So just think about that fumble forced by Jefferson, and now we get the pick by Keon. Those could be points for Vanderbilt. Changes the game. We give them any type of points there. Let's give them 6, give them 10, give them 14. Drastically changes the game. So hats off to defense for bending, not breaking, right there in the end zone. And then next, after that interception, actually going back before that, I saw a video of Clinton Dix on the sideline. It's funny. It's obviously, I don't think it's in full seriousness, but he was giving Keon some displeasure for not scoring the ball. I mean, I like that. That's Bama. That's what I feel like we more of Nick Saban era. Being upset with good plays, but it wasn't the best play. So like that, fun to see. It's kind of lighthearted on the sideline. So next, after that, most probably impressive and important drive of the whole game was an 8-minute, 29-second drive that we put on, to really put the game on ice. We end up with 3 yet again. We would love touchdowns here, not field goals. But this puts you up by 9, and you can call it thin ice, but it iced the game pretty much. They get the ball back. Defense puts another stop together, gets another hold. At this point, it's 23-14, and I'm starting to think, I feel good that we're going to end with this win here. I don't love how it went down. A lot was said in the media by Vanderbilt, by their quarterback Diego Pavia. I would have loved, just a little bit more. So, I'm looking up at the scoreboard and seeing they have some timeouts, and I'm kind of thinking, maybe we can get some yards here, but they can call their timeouts, we can kick a field goal, and let's make the score, 26-14. Just as the fan part of me, I want to beat them more after what happened last year and what's happened this whole week leading up to the game. I would love to have put some more together. So that's why they're calling timeouts, and they actually get us to a 4th down play. And I'm thinking, I'm getting my wish. We're gonna kick a field goal, and we're gonna cover if you care about that. So that was what I was thinking. And then Jam breaks it right there for a touchdown, even better, make the score 30-14, and we all look a little bit better, and it looks a little little more pretty on the scoreboard. But this game, it felt closer than that. It was closer than that. Hats off to Vanderbilt that played a great game. Couldn't really quite back up everything they said. But, this is Vanderbilt. The program's changing up there. They continue this. Be good things for them. So, good for them. That's a win in the books. Like I said, it doesn't get easier going forward. Now we're going to transition to the Missouri game and talk about that. But that 24-hour rule, whatever I want to talk about, I hope it applied. Yet again, I wasn't in the locker room after this win. I hope they were already looking to Missouri because it's going to be another battle game where we have to go take it from them. I mean, we're going to have to go take this game from them. So, transitioning away from the Vanderbilt game to the Missouri game now, let's just talk about what they've started their season. Missouri's had 6 straight home games to open the season. That's crazy. That's such great scheduling for them and awesome for them. They haven't left their home stadium yet, and they won't tell, when they play Auburn next week. It'll be the first time they don't play at home. They only have 4 away games at all this season, so it's pretty nice. They got a pretty nice schedule this year. Also, breaking news, Kalen DeBoer announced that he's probably going to wear his black hoodie of death. That's what people are calling it now, which is great. Whatever you believe in, I don't really believe in all that too much, but it's fun. It's fun to have something like that. I think it's 11-1, 12-1, 10-1 in that, so that's great. If we play a little bit better with him wearing it, I'm all for it. So let's get 11 a.m. start time. Pros and cons to this. One of the pros, kind of the obvious, it's 11 a.m. Maybe their fans won't be as up for it as they would be if it was 7:30 under the lights. I think they're going to be up for it. I think this might be the biggest home game they've had, maybe game they've had with Coach Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, this is probably their biggest one. And then another con for Alabama is that 11 a.m. just moves everything up in the standpoint of travel logistics. If the game's at 7:30 or later, you might be able to get one more walkthrough in, one more little prep. But with it being 11, it just kind of bumps everything up just a little bit. All-time history versus Missouri. Bama's 6-2, so there's been 8 total matchups. They've won 6 straight. They've actually never lost on the road to Missouri. You know what that means? Absolutely nothing, because this dates back to 1968. So it's a whole new year. We're in 2025. Just fun to talk about, but it means absolutely nothing. Then get into the AP kind of madness with this game. Missouri's at 14. If you take away the preseason bias of some of these teams, Missouri's a lot higher than 14. They have the Missouri logo, so they're not going to be higher. Kind of same thing happened to Vanderbilt. You have the Vanderbilt logo, so you're not going to be higher. This is a game that can really put them on the map. Can open up some eyes for them. I think Vandy had the same chance last week to really put themselves in a position where they can make a jump in the polls. Vandy couldn't. We'll see what Missouri does this week. But this is a game they can actually make themselves seem legit. So that I'm sure that's talked about. I'm on Alabama TikTok. Their fans are have the same kind of thought process. They're posting that Rocky video where if we play 10 times, they might win 9, but not tonight, not today. Yeah, they're posting that. So they know what's happening. They know what this game means to them, what this game will mean to their program. They're going to be up and ready for it. That's why I don't think the 11 a.m. kickoff is going to be too much of a factor for that home crowd. Get into the game. Bama opened as a 5.5 favorite. I think now it's closer to 2.5. It's probably going to change. This is getting recorded on Wednesday. It probably would change before Saturday. Missouri has a great rushing attack. Ahmed Hardy back there has got 700 yards already this season and over 6 yards a carry. I expect, if this continues, expect him to start getting some more national media attention. And I saw he's top 15 in the Heisman already with the standpoint of odds to win it. Expect that to climb, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll get more attention on that. Now, to their defense side, might be the best defensive line we've played. I know you say we just played Georgia 2 weeks ago, but they, in terms of getting after the quarterback, they're number 2 in pressure rating. So they're going to try to get after Ty. That's going to be part of their game plan. Can they disrupt us? Can they disrupt Ty? Get him off rhythm? They're number 1 in rushing yards allowed. So, we haven't been great at that this year. We looked better last week. I think it was 136 yards, somewhere around that in the ballpark. So we looked better last week. It's going the right direction. Getting Jam Miller back has helped. But it's gonna, another test. This is gonna be a real big test for offensive line this week, and how can they perform and how can they, impose their will. You kind of noticed last week versus Vanderbilt. At a certain point, we just started to lean on Vanderbilt. Can we do that again? So I can see Ty having a good day though with the secondary. Let's get away from the front, from the Missouri's front. I can see Ty having his way with the secondary. Look for Ryan Grubb, which is our OC, to spread the ball around. Maybe getting them out quick formations. We've seen a lot of screens the last 2 weeks, getting the ball, fast to the perimeter, getting the ball to the running back. We've seen a lot of, tight end screens. We're getting Cuevas involved. So look for some more screens. Look for some more, get the ball out quick. Look for Ryan Williams to get involved. Every Bama fan probably keeps saying it, but look for him to get something maybe early. If you think you're worried about his confidence, I'm not. But if you are, look for him to get involved earlier. While I'm saying that, I don't expect Ryan Grubb to abandon the run. I think Jan Miller will still play a part in this game. I think our offensive line will still have their chance to impose their will. So look for that to be a factor. But overall, I think this is going to be Ty having his way and putting up some numbers in this game. All that said, my prediction this weekend, I got the Tide 27-17. I think it's going to be a big win. I think Ty will have a big day. I think the offensive line will show out. I think it's going to be tough. It could be one-score game going in the fourth quarter again. I think Missouri's a good team. I think it's going to be one we have to go there and win. So that kind of wraps up the Missouri game. But before we end, I do want to talk about what we're seeing with Caden Proctor. It's awesome to see him getting involved in the offense. If you don't know, they're saying it's because they set a weight goal for him to lose, and he met it. So this is kind of his reward. But I think it's just fun for the team. You see the guys being happy for him. It gets the fans involved. A team feeds off of that. So I think it's really fun. We saw that pass to him. It's behind the quarterback. So it's going to go down as a run for him. But screen pass, whatever you want to call it, against Georgia. And then last week he gets the carry on 3rd and 1, gets 2 yards. It's also a weapon. He's hard to tackle. It works. It's efficient. It's not just like a gag play that we're running for somebody. So it works. It's expect it not to go anywhere either. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think this is going to be used again. Expect for him maybe to pass the ball. You see a lot of these times it's a direct snap to the offensive lineman if it's a trick play, and they it looks like it's going to be a QB power style run, and then they do a little jump pass, something like that. You never know. I can see it happening. If it happens, heard it here first. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for me today. Wrap it up for this week as Alabama gets ready for Missouri. We'll touch base again next week after Missouri, and we'll see how that game goes. So I'll see you back here next week, and Roll Tide.